Thanks so much. Thank you, Laura, Danielle, Renee, and KNN for having us today. Today we're going to tell you a little bit more about Serve Kentucky. We're going to start off with talking about Serve Kentucky, who we are, what we do. I'm also going to share some information with you on really the impact of volunteerism through a report that is created by the Corporation for Community and National Service, which is one of our partners. And then Allison's going to take it away and demo our new volunteer management software portal for you. So I'm just going to start the presentation by giving you a little bit of context about who we are and what we do. So Serve Kentucky is the state service commission, and our mission is to engage Kentuckians in volunteerism and service to positively impact communities across the Commonwealth. So we do this in several ways. We create a statewide strategic plan for ways to increase volunteerism. We establish relevant policies, but perhaps really our largest initiative is we provide the administrative oversight for the state AmeriCorps program. So established in 1994 as a program of the Corporation for Community and National Service, the CNCS, the main goal of AmeriCorps is to engage citizens to meet critical needs in communities all across our country. And so as you can see from this map, right now we have 21 AmeriCorps programs in our state, almost 800 members serving in 100 counties. So these members serve in a variety of capacities. They're tutors, mentors, they lead environmental initiatives, assist with food insecurity and housing and homelessness issues, among really many other areas of need. Their impact is great across our state. Serve Kentucky also supports nonprofits in volunteer engagement. We have capacity building trainings and other resources, including recognition programs. So our agency, we honor volunteers through our annual Governor's Service Awards. We can issue certificates of achievement, which are signed by the governor for your volunteers. And we also host activities each year for National Volunteer Recognition Week, which is in April. And also this year, this spring, we partnered with KNN to bring you the virtual volunteer engagement workshops, where experts in the field of volunteerism really presented information on how to pivot your volunteer programs in the face of the COVID-19 crisis. So I just want to take a couple minutes and talk to you a little bit about really kind of the importance and impact of volunteerism and why we do what we do. So you in the nonprofit sector really fully understand, I think, the positive impact of volunteers for our state and their really important role in delivering services to our most vulnerable populations. And educating, mentoring, and really in most cases kind of lightening the load for a lot of our nonprofit organizations. So we often call volunteers the heart of our organizations. So it's, I think it's important to reflect on the impact to our sector, especially as we really navigate these kind of unprecedented changes that the current pandemic has created. So according to the most recent figures, these were released in 2018 by the Corporation for National and Community Service. About 77.4 million people in the entire United States volunteered 6.9 billion hours of their time, talent, effort to really improve and strengthen our communities. And so, you know, Kentucky is no different than that. We had 978,000 volunteers contribute almost 96 million hours of service, and they've estimated this worth at about $2.3 billion. So this data comes from a report called the Volunteering in America report, which was produced by the CNCS, and it's really a part of its effort to kind of expand the reach and impact of America's volunteers. So it was collected over 15 years. This research really is the most comprehensive data we have on American volunteering really ever assembled. So it includes a volunteer data profile for every state and all major metropolitan areas. And you can find this information on our website, which is serve.ky.gov. So I'd urge you to go there and kind of look at some of these profiles about really the impact of the hours and the time and the economic impact of volunteering. So, you know, and in 2020, you all are probably familiar, the hourly value of a volunteer hour increased. And of course that is collected by independent sector. And this year they have valued a volunteer hour at $27 an hour. And they calculate that with hourly earnings that are released by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So if you're ever kind of trying to evaluate your volunteer time. And I think that the dollar value of volunteering is really always impressive. And of course, it's sort of for us to make the case, kind of our economic bottom line in the industry that we work in. But I really think right now it's even more critical because during the current hardships that we face, many organizations are struggling financially, and the contribution of volunteers are really kind of more important than ever to help us deliver some really critical services right now. We also like to talk about through a lot of our trainings that while the dollar value of a volunteer hour is important, there's really an intrinsic value to volunteering that sometimes is harder to put an economic value, a placeholder on. And sometimes these intrinsic values really are kind of the qualities, the outcomes, the accomplishments that aren't easily measured. So maybe it's a civic engagement or interpersonal connections that volunteers share, really the value of their experience with your organization, the stories of their impact that they have for both, stories of impact for both the client and the volunteer, and really that kind of shared sense of ownership in your mission. So there's lots of ways that you can value volunteers in your organization that isn't always just on that price tag, although that is an important factor, right? So some of the bigger challenges, I wanted to bring this in and talk a little bit about like what we're facing with COVID, because volunteering is obviously very, very difficult right now. There's no doubt that it's affected volunteering really across the nation and across the state. And so you can imagine, you know, many volunteers, even that you probably work with, are in a more vulnerable population. It might just simply not be safe for them to volunteer in person. And so we're really all facing challenges in kind of delivering these important services that sometimes have been provided by volunteers. And then also just the challenge of trying to recreate maybe what we do in a virtual way. So, Track It Forward, which is an organization that really tracks volunteer data for nonprofits, had kind of at the beginning of the pandemic really surveyed volunteer management professionals about really how they were being affected and what their biggest concerns were. And so they kind of had these 6 areas, which I think we can all relate to. It's more difficult to provide essential services. Sometimes the programs and services have changed due to closures, increased guidelines. Maybe your volunteers can't come to site on your site. It's really hard to rebuild the momentum. Let's say you were shut down for a while and you've come back online, or you're in the process of doing that. How do you create that momentum that maybe has stopped after a really long break? And of course, we're all concerned about the health of ourselves and our volunteers. So, it's new guidelines and new measures. Also, the mitigating the risk and the liability and the exposure of your staff if you're bringing in volunteers. So all kinds of things that are really pressing challenges right now. Community building, not being able to meet in person and have events and have host meetings can sometimes kind of create a divide, and it's more difficult to create that community that's so important to accomplishing our mission. Also, engaging volunteers. It's pretty easy for volunteers sometimes to lose interest if their programs and roles have been suspended or changed. So how do you kind of go about trying to re-engage and reignite their passion for what you do? And then finally, remote engagement. So really many programs are trying to adapt to being virtual, or to find out things for their volunteers to do to keep them engaged that maybe are things they can do from home or from a safer location. And that's just not always easy to shift and pivot. A lot of people have been doing virtual opportunities and online and digital for a while now, and others haven't. So I really think there's a lot we can learn together by networking with our peers on this, and this is what I'm hearing. So really, volunteering, like really almost everything in our world right now has changed because of the pandemic. And at Serve Kentucky, we really want to offer you resources to help your organizations adapt and thrive right now. So if you haven't done so already, I'm going to put in another plug for the virtual volunteer engagement workshops that we co-hosted, or that we partnered with KNN to produce and give to you in April. We had a really wonderful professional named Beth Steinhorn who created this information. There were 4 topics, and the topics that were presented really address a lot of these 6 challenges and concerns. Volunteer engagement amid the pandemic, what are some real best practices for virtual volunteering, and how can you nurture a team culture across the ether, which is how can you sustain that momentum when you're not in person? You know, when how can you build community and build that spirit within your volunteers? So I just wanted to give you a brief context about what we do before I talk about a really exciting announcement, our Volunteer Kentucky, which is a free online volunteer recruitment and management tool. And you might have seen this just last week. I think it was on Governor Beshear's daily press conference. So it's a resource that we want to get out to the nonprofit community. We're super excited about it. And now Allison Crawford, my colleague Allison, is going to share with you. She's going to demonstrate really how Volunteer Kentucky works and also what the benefits are going to be to your organization. So Allison.
Hi there, I'm just getting things set up here. Thank you so much, Amy, for all of that really great information, and thank you again to KNN for letting us come on and talk about this new tool. I'm really hoping it will help everybody figure out how to deal with volunteer management in this new age of more online engagement. So I just want to give you a quick overview, and before we get started into this, this is a very robust tool, and there is going to be a lot more information than I can go over in this presentation without just really confusing you. So I'm going to give you the quick highlights of what it's going to look like for someone who's never visited the site, for someone who has an individual volunteer profile, and then also what tools you can use as an agency looking to use this as a volunteer management tool, or even just as a way to promote your organization and your needs if you already have your own tools. So just if you have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat box. And like I said, it's going to be a quick overview, and you'll learn a lot more than I'll be able to tell you by just going in and clicking around through it. So here we are on the basically the landing page. So for someone who's never visited the site before, it's going to look like this. It'll have all of these little tabs up here. It gives a quick overview of resources that our site has, and posts usually the most recent needs and recently registered agencies. So to look at what an agency profile looks like, I'm going to click this one. It's super cute. And also, I had a bat infestation problem in my apartment once, and I took bats to this this nonprofit, and it just was wonderful. I was glad they were there. But so this is what it's going to look like when you have your own profile, and it'll give the logo. Look at that super cute little skunk. It'll give an overview of who you are and what you do. Now, this could be longer depending on how much text you put in there. You can put a lot if you want, or you can keep it short like this. It'll give the causes. You'll be able to select from a long menu of different causes that you could fit under. So there's like basic needs, arts and culture, and on, to help people sort of filter when they're looking for volunteer opportunities, and what they're filter it by what their interests are. So this one is listed as environment. It'll list, sorry for my little screen jump there. It'll list the contact information. It will list your location with a little map, which is handy. And then you can make your profile more engaging by showing pictures. That is so adorable. Showing pictures of the different ways your volunteers are helping. You can link to your Facebook and your own personal or your organization's website. Unfortunately, right now, they don't have an Instagram link, but I'm going to reach out to them and see if they might be able to add that, because that is pretty important these days. And then you can also add a little video down here. It'll play in the website, and you can also click to find more videos from that channel. So that's what it's going to look like when you have your own agency profile. And let's check out what a need is going to look like to someone looking for a volunteer opportunity. How about the animal care team? So you just click on the details. You're going to have a lot of different options for the type of volunteer activity that you're looking for someone. So you can have it as ongoing. You can have it be more like a schedule, like sign up for a shift. There are a lot of options. Like I said, I won't get into it now because it'd be just confusing, but it'll list the times, the interests, you know, it's going to be social. There's also some other things that you can label this as, and it also helps people to sort. They can sort by specific interests to find needs. They're called needs, but it's volunteer opportunities. Let's just go ahead and, well, if I become a fan, it's going to prompt me to create a personal profile. So that's handy. And then this is where you can list all of the different responsibilities of the role. Also, it's really nice, there are additional filters and tags that you can put on needs that show, you know, hey, if you want to bring your kid, it's family friendly, or this is outdoors, which I think is especially important right now during COVID, because it's safer if you're going to be around people to be outdoors, right? Unfortunately, this one is not wheelchair accessible, but it is nice that they have the ability to show accessibility of this need. So if somebody were going to want to respond to this need, say, well, I really want to be part of this animal care team, they are going to click respond. There's a link at the top and the bottom, and that will prompt them to create their own profile. And then from there, it will send you an email saying, hey, this person's interested in joining this volunteer team or filling this need. And then you can reach out to them for further, either to get them into your training program or whatnot. And if you don't need to train them, which is rare, but if you just need somebody to sign up, you can make it possible where somebody can just sign up for a shift too from this little button. Okay, so that's the overview of what it's going to look like for somebody just new to the website, browsing over it. And let me show you what it looks like from an individual who is just going to be like a user. And it's angry at me every time, but that's not what it's going to bring you to. It's going to bring you to this. So when you log in, it's going to give you a little overview of your interests, the causes you're interested in, the types of work you're interested in, and the kind of agencies that you've been following. It will also, let's see, you can edit your profile here, which is just your, you know, you can change your password and all that. And then down here at the, your availability, it's really nice. You can volunteers can show when and when they're not available, which is helpful for agency managers when they're trying to find somebody to fill a spot, if they need to contact somebody, you know, last minute or just in general. It's going to ask you all these questions, and then people can also input. This is where I think is really interesting about this website. People can input, you know, their t-shirt size, any kind of food needs that they have, and some other things in here that are really great for indicating how this person might be good for different roles at your agency. And what's really nice about it is it automatically, because it's saved, this information is saved in individual profiles, it automatically transfers that information to the agency manager whenever this person might sign up for an event or just a volunteer role. So it's one less step you have to worry about. If you have it set to where you need to know these things, it will automatically give you that information instead of you having to create a different form or ask another question or worry about that. So I would find that very useful, especially for events when you're going to give people t-shirts and stuff or provide a meal. And then let's see, other things in here, it'll show you, you know, what shifts you've signed up for on a little calendar. It's pretty handy. And then My Files, I think you can upload like a background check here. So if you have a background check from one organization, you can put it in here and give that to other organizations so they don't have to keep paying that like $25, $27 fee every time you want to volunteer somewhere, which is cheaper for the organization if the organization is paying for it, or cheaper for the individual, and just streamlines that process pretty nicely. And I'll show you know what needs you've responded to, and if you're on any teams, that's a little bit more in detail. So that's something you'll need to explore on your own. But there are groups and teams, and that is helpful for when maybe like if you were in a sorority, a fraternity, or some sort of business organization or professional organization that wanted to serve as a team. You can be part of that, and it just responds and carries all that information, all those people in one go. So it's really easy. And then also you have the ability to communicate with individuals, which I would find more useful if you just needed to send an email to everybody who is going to, respond to this event or something. Personally, I would probably still talk to people using, like a phone or a regular email, but this can be helpful when you just need all the people for this specific thing. Blast them out an email, it's really handy. All right, so that's what it looks like from an individual. If you are going to have your own, manage your own agency, your organization profile, when you log in, it will also show you this little My Agency button, and that will take you to where you can edit your agency profile. So here's all the basic information. Most of this will be populated when you sign up for an agency profile. You can put in your pictures, you can change the contact information, you can insert your links here. The contact information now, well, I'll get back into this later, but you can have multiple people who have authority to manage this agency, which is really handy if you have like a website person who's handling management of the web page, but you actually want volunteers to reach out to somebody else, your volunteer coordinator or a specific volunteer program coordinator. You can put that specific information in here. You can also add it into your description box down at the bottom around here. But that is definitely something that we've run into with organizations who are already using it, is one person will manage the site and another person will actually be, the front facing person for volunteers. So you can go in there and manage that. When you're ready to post needs, this is where you would go, this little needs tab. And let's see. So here is the Franklin County Women and Family Shelter's posted needs. And how I have this set up is sometimes you're not going to want people to just automatically sign up for a shift, right? Because you need to make sure that they are trained and onboarded before they even fill a spot. So the way that I sort of got around that with this organization was to create just general ones that were available to all users, indicated by this little open lock here, where they can just see what the need is, what's involved, and respond and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this. And so from there, I would reach out to them, get them trained, and then I would give them access, their individual profile, to these private needs. And that's where they can actually sign up for specific shifts. So that's how I got around that sort of need to promote, but also need to keep some things like locked down a bit. It is a little more work, but once you get it set up, it's pretty easy. And then if you have people who volunteer with you that don't want to get on the internet for whatever reason, or they don't have the internet, you can respond to those needs for them. So let's see, somebody does that, and you put their email in there, it connects to their profile, and it will say, oh, this person filled that need. It's quick, simple, and it tracks how many hours based on the need that they're responding to. It tracks how many hours they served, when, and all that sort of information that you would need. If you are wanting to post on your social media or through an email, hey, come fill our needs, we have a lot right now, you can copy this link, which is at the bottom of the needs page, and it will take them directly to that public facing needs page where they can see all of the things. There's also, when you click on an individual need, a link at the top here that will take people to that individual need page as well. So pretty handy for when you need to share it out, and make sure that the link, from your URL isn't going to mess it up because somebody's not logged in or whatever. So you can use this link and it will be available to anyone. And then you just, title, description, all this basic information, hours, 128. That's because this is a week long. People just take the phone for a week. Anyway, okay. So if you need, to know somebody's anything, this is where you can add these. If this were an event or something and I was providing a meal, then I could say, hey, I need to know these things. And this is where if the person responds, their volunteer profile will automatically give you all that information without any extra steps, which is nice. Age, I just added this one in here because right now, the CDC recommendations are that people in certain age groups don't go out or limit their exposure opportunities. And so if that was something that your organization had decided they just couldn't handle the liability, then that will help you sort through those volunteers. Family friendly, these are where you can accept all these things. You can add, like water provided. When you get here, you'll have a snack or something. It's where you're going to be, and you can deactivate it. You can clone it. If you deactivate it, you can come back and reactivate it, so you don't have to make it again, which is really nice. And then this user groups, this is different than Teams. Teams, I think, is more geared toward like organizations or groups of people that want to do things together. User groups is where you can put your volunteers into specific groups. So, like only this set of people are going to be responding during COVID. So you can add them in there, and that will make this need available only to them or something like that, which is really handy. All right, I want to show you a couple more things. I know it's a lot of information, and there's even more, like I said. You can use this for events. You can, stats is where you're going to be able to download the responses to your needs. So it's going to put all that information to a spreadsheet for you. You don't have to do any manual entry, and then you can just take that and do whatever you need to with it, which is handy. It's going to save a lot of time if you're just inputting things manually. I can't go down lower because there is some personal information down there, but here's where you would. It shows you who responded when, and this is where you would export all that data. The schedule, they just created this really nice calendar overview, so it can show, indicated by color up here, color and fill. It will show you all these different things. So that's a nice little overview for, oh, whoops, I need to make sure I have somebody in this spot. And then you can also view more details and work from there. And there's filters, but that is not applicable here. Okay, and then time tracking, this is going to be where if you need people to respond, if you're going to use this as an actual like time tracking or volunteer management like system to track how many hours you're getting for grant reports or just reporting in general, this is where you're going to get that information, where they will report that information. And then if it's necessary for a student or something who has to report their hours, or for a like somebody doing ordered service, if you work with folks who need ordered service hours, here is where they can report that, and you can accept it or deny it based on whatever So, and then let's see, there's more tools down at the bottom of here, but that's where you're going to go to have that. And then there's an app. So if you are not on the scene whenever somebody's volunteering, but you want them to show that they're there at the moment, then this will show who's checked in right now, which can be helpful for different organizations, especially if you're doing like weekend volunteers and you're not in the office or something. Let's see, let me make sure I showed you everything. Okay, so one more thing I'll show you. Let me switch my screen share around here. New share. Okay, so a really handy feature, can you see the different thing there? Okay, is that volunteers, it will generate, if they track all their service hours through this system, it will generate for them a volunteer resume, which I think would be really handy for especially like younger folks who want something to show for their resume or their college applications, things like that. It just puts it in a really nice view, and it shows how many hours they've done, what that impact value is, the types of service that they've done. So that can be a selling point to get, I would say, younger people. If I were in high school or college, I would find this really useful. Or even, it's just it's interesting to just see what you've been doing as well. So I wanted to show you that. And then lastly, before I let you all go or see if there are any questions, this website, Volunteer Kentucky, is really going to work best whenever there's a critical mass of people using it. So our dream for this website is that it's the go-to spot for any organization. It's free. Again, it's free for any organization that is in good standing with the Kentucky Secretary of State to use. And we are going to do everything we can to make sure it is available I mean, we've made the commitment, so it'll be there. But it's free to use, and once we get enough organizations on there, if people want to volunteer at different organizations, it kind of helps them, it facilitates people doing that, like volunteering here and then going to this other organization. It's all in one spot. It's easy for the volunteer to do, and so we hope that will bring even more people to the site. And once we have a lot of people on the site and there's word of mouth and the spreading, I think that'll really like boost the volunteer community statewide, and just streamline the process and make it easy for volunteers to find needs and easier for organizations to fill those needs and manage that and track those hours and report on them, which I would find the reports are most compelling to me, because that was always something I needed to do a lot of as a volunteer coordinator. But let's see, yeah, so if you can, if you're interested in using this, please go to the website. You can sign up. It's serveky.galaxydigital.com. If it is useful to you, I hope that you will share it. Even if you don't end up using it, it would be great if you wanted to share it just to get more volunteers. There are a lot of needs right now. There are a lot of virtual needs. You can sort here, virtual needs. So if somebody only wants to do something virtual, it will show them all the needs that are just virtual, which is great for right now. And wow, there are a lot more than even just 2 days ago posted on here. But the Red Cross has a lot of urgent needs right now, and a bunch of organizations. I mean, everybody is needing volunteers, especially with all the changes that have happened recently and people not being able to do stuff in person. So I would really appreciate, and I'm sure these organizations would appreciate you sharing and trying to get volunteers to come and respond to those needs. You can also, if you don't want to use, if you already have your own volunteer management system that you pay for or just are used to, you don't have to use those tools, but you can just use it to promote your agency, and you can sort of make it like a click through to your website. So you post your needs, you post your agency, and then somebody clicks on it and it takes it to your website or your volunteer management portal. So you definitely don't have to use it for that. I think it's still beneficial for promoting the volunteer opportunities that you have. And that's it. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take a stab at them.
Thank you so much, Allison. I don't see any questions yet, but we'll be on for a few more minutes, so please share those as they come up. And Allison, you are the contact for that site, right? So if folks have questions as they're setting up their platform, you're the person of contact, right?
Right, and there are some shifts happening, so that may switch to somebody else, but for right now, yes, that is me.
All right, well, thank you again for presenting that, and Amy for your introduction on volunteerism in Kentucky, and really help put that into context for us, and those numbers of volunteers, and of course the impact always, and especially during COVID, is really huge. So thank you so much for sharing that important information. So Amy mentioned earlier our virtual volunteer management series. So I am going to share my screen. You all get all the screen shares today. I'm going to share my screen and show you just where to find that on our website. So hopefully you all are seeing the KNN volunteer management website right now. Great. So if you go to kynonprofits.org, our website, and then click on the Learn button, you'll see in the sidebars the volunteer management resources link. So if you click that and scroll down, you'll see the Volunteer Management Initiative. This is an older program that we developed with Beth Steinhorn about a year ago. And Beth Steinhorn is from VQ Volunteer Strategies. She led a series of 9 kind of evergreen webinars. So if you haven't yet participated and you're interested, we certainly recommend them. You'll see the topics here, everything from developing roles to recruitment and accountability and impact. There is a fee for these webinars, but KNN members save 25% and then an additional 25% if you purchase the entire bundle. So really great rates, especially for KNN members. We loved Beth Steinhorn so much and had such a great experience with her. And then, of course, we love our friends at Serve Kentucky. So we collaborated with all the parties to launch the virtual volunteer management series, which Amy mentioned earlier. So this we launched in April of this year, right soon after COVID hit. And as Amy mentioned, these are recorded webinars that focus on pivoting and offering volunteer roles and volunteer management in the virtual space. So those are all free for KNN members and for potential members. So you'll find those on that page as well. So definitely want to make sure you know where to go to find and take advantage of those resources. And then Allison mentioned briefly background checks and where folks can upload their background checks into the system on Volunteer Kentucky, which is great. We know that most nonprofits want to have their own background checks. So we have partnered with COEUS Global to offer a discount for KNN members to run background checks and to have their own branded page. So you'll see here KNN members receive 40 to 60% off standard pricing, which is great. Background checks are sadly expensive, but it's really a non-negotiable for nonprofits as they're finding volunteers that are working with their clients. So we encourage you to check out that member benefit, and wanted to show you just an example of what a branded page looks like. So this is a COEUS Global page that's branded for us over at KNN. So this is the background check that we have our new staff. I filled this out when I signed on as a staff member, and if we use more volunteers, and when we use more volunteers, we'll have them do that as well. So just so you can see an example of what a branded page looks like with your organization's logo and your organization's name, so that the volunteer really trusts where that background check is coming from and to whom the results are going. So KNN members, check out the Member Information Center to find your discount code for that. So we do have a question that looks like it's come in from Jim. Thinking about individuals looking for volunteer opportunities when there are lots of organizations listed, will there be some kind of geographic breakdown of organization location? For example, a search by counties. Allison?
Yeah, definitely. So I believe so. Like I said, the system's pretty new, and so I haven't been able to explore all the possibilities or all the issues folks might want to know or run into as we really get this launched. So I'm not going to have all the answers, unfortunately, but I am happy to look into everything. I'm pretty sure you can. Let me pull it up and make sure.
And I feel like it's also when you enter that volunteer profile, Jim, like when you say what you want to sign up for, I believe that you can also enter in that information. But I don't, we would need to relook at that to make sure. But I think there will be a way to filter.
Yeah, and actually, let me just share this real quick because it's pretty cool. There's actually a map function here, and I'm not sure, it doesn't look like all of the needs are posted.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think there are a lot more, so I'm not sure why they're not all showing, but there's definitely this map function, and I'm pretty sure that you can filter by distance at least, so it'll
county up there. Did you see it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, county, great. So yes, and then you have to, the search function's a little clunky. You have to press a lot of buttons, but eventually you'll find it. So yeah, so based on the profile that you're signed in as, it will show you by distance what is close to you. It's a great question, thank you.
Yeah, great, thanks, Jen. And yeah, you mentioned, Allison, earlier the filter by virtual opportunities, and I actually used that recently. We had a university reach out to us asking for a database of volunteer opportunities around the state, that they were only interested in virtual opportunities. So it was really simple to peek through there, and I wanted to make sure there were virtual opportunities listed before I shared it, and there were plenty. So definitely appreciate how searchable and usable those filters are.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad it was helpful.
All right.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Well, thank you again to Allison and Amy and to our friends at Serve Kentucky for hopping on today and sharing that. Congratulations on a beautiful platform, and we look forward to seeing more nonprofits using it.